And one of the key points today when Ted Malloch talked to me, and he is okay, he's here for Easter, he's going to stay through Easter. But the point is, Ted said that the Mueller's staff were upset that we went public with that the grand jury had called him. Yeah, it was supposed to be kept secret squirrel. Nobody was supposed to know that because Mueller wants to do all of this, in a camera secret proceeding. I mean, this is disgraceful. This is like a cheap 1930 movie. I mean, if Mueller wants to behave like this, I'm telling him, let's go out in the backyard and duke it out. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm tired of seeing the FBI dragged to this level of embarrassment by a hack like Mueller and Rosenstein. Both of them ought to be indicted and under grand jury subpoena themselves for their role in the cover-up of the Iranian Russian bribery scheme. They helped Hillary make $147 million, and now that's being covered up. So Ted Malloch saying, well, they said we shouldn't mention anything. I said, Ted, forget it. We'll blast them. I want to blast them. I want to call them out. Mueller wants to grab Ted's cell phone and look at his cell phone. He would have taken his laptops. What the FBI and CIA and all these people won't tell you when they're giving it back. They're going to scrutinize it down to the last bit of data, and then they'll bring Ted in. And if he lies about anything or makes a mistake, they'll indict him. He's going to be the grand jury. They can't have any lawyer at the grand jury, and they're going to testify him for, who knows, 2-3 days about every little detail of everything he's done back to grade school.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me just recap some of the top stories that I haven't gotten into, but I've mentioned. I had Tommy Robinson coming on today about some incredible attacks on free speech in the UK and all the Islamist stuff going on. He's still going to be joining us, but it's becoming staggering. They're now EU-wide saying that child sex with Muslims is okay because it's their culture. It's unbelievable. I mean, this is so crazy, I'm having trouble believing it. This was officially put out by the Swedish government. It's on Infowars.com. It's translated out of Swedish, and it shows men with little girls. I mean, it's next level. And they have children's shows on German PBS, on their public television, teaching 14-year-olds to have a 25-year-old Islamic husband. I mean, I just said that, and it sounds like a lie, and it's true. I mean, you know what I mean? That's so crazy, I can't even believe it anymore. So let's stop right there. That's coming up. And it just gets more insane. These people are insane. And the devil worshiping and arrest made and women in cages and starving them and branding them and Vicente Fox's daughter connected to it and U.S. senators connected. And then they try to say, oh, we're not connected. But then their Twitter account, they're tweeting out Aleister Crowley's high priestess, spirit cooking. I mean, it's just like, really? Really, devil worship? Slaves must immediately answer their masters anytime they text or call them. And if they do not recruit enough slaves of their own, they are beaten with a paddle. And that's just the entrance of the cult. And then the women must be at starvation level. Oh, just get whatever her name is off the screen. I can't look at her. Now, last night, yesterday afternoon, Dr. Corsi calls me and he says, Ted Malloch, former board member of the Davos Group, head of the Aspen Institute, a patriot mole inside the Globalist, best-selling author, professor, was flying in from London where he lives. He's an Anglophile. He's an American, but he lives in England. And they grab him up. They read him his rights. They want to know about Roger Stone, Corsi, our operation. And then they take his phone. We're going to go over it all right now with Dr. Jerome Corsi, because this is a big, 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 big deal. That this is how big the dragnet is that I guess because he talked about talking to an MI6 agent that told him that the WikiLeaks had gotten the stuff downloaded, which we now know from William Binney, formerly the director of the NSA Technical, and that it wasn't hacked from a distance. So they want to know all about this. And it just shows how huge the dragnet is. My security team, just the other day, documented, and the feds wanted me to know, because the feds have got cars with little numbers on the front fender. Feds out here following me, I don't know what for. If people think that's going to intimidate me, you guys haven't figured out I can't be intimidated because I'm committed until death to fight this because I know we're dealing with a bunch of pedophile devil worshippers. So it's not hard to say I'm committed 100% because I'm actually panicking like a drowning man, you understand, getting away from them. That's what this is. This whole show is that. Fight or flight, I'm fighting. This is my panic, completely freaked out fight against a bunch of devil worshippers. You got to figure it out. I only know one direction, that's forward. And I am scared. I'm scared I'm not going to fight you hard enough. You got me scared. Don't you worry. So, you got me scared. Oh, believe me. And we got our hands around your neck politically now. And you're going to find out just how scared we are. And that scared strength's going to pop the political eyeballs out of your head. Just like you see a little boy, Bezos, 30-plus billion lost in a day. That's a guy that won't even pay for his sick employees. The Washington Post treats him like total crap and is a monster. And you think he likes losing $30 billion in one day? $5 billion himself? You think that little monster likes that? And he'll lose a lot more than that real soon. You think this is a one-way street? Buster, it's not. This is real. So get ready. And the news is like, oh, Trump's obsessed with it, that it's killing Main Street, and that it's anti-American, and that he thinks the Washington Post is weaponized. Thinks it's weaponized? They publicly hired over 300 former CIA operatives from Information Warfare Division under Obama to run the Washington Post now. It's a giant CIA breakaway criminal network. Yeah, I'm glad the president's obsessed with it. They're lucky they're just getting their asses handed to them financially. All right, I'm sorry. Let's go to Dr. Corsi. So, author of Killing the Deep State, The Fight to Save President Trump. Doc, this is such next level. And you said it best last night in that emergency broadcast we did. But Malloch finally, they took his phones and stuff. He's trying to talk to lawyers, but you talked to him this morning. He doesn't want to come on yet, but just describe what he told you they did.
Well, it's going to be more and more incredible. I mean, Ted Malloch is okay. He's in Ohio. He's with his wife. The FBI and the Mueller team are continuing to talk to him. They're calling him up. Now we know a couple things. One is they went to a judge.
Oh, this is breaking exclusive right now.
Yes, it's all break. They went to a judge Mueller went to a judge in Massachusetts to get the subpoena for Ted to appear before the grand jury on the Russian collusion case. They went to somebody in Massachusetts. I guess they couldn't find a liberal enough judge in Washington. Then they want to keep Ted's cell phone. It's his only cell phone. He's out using his wife's cell phone, which is in London. It doesn't really work that well here, calling to London to have it bounce back here. They won't give him his cell phone back. They say they want to scrutinize it, and they're going to hold Ted. He's going to come back on April 13th. They postponed the grand jury appearance to give them more time to break down every little square inch of Ted's cell phone. Now, I mean, this is to me outrageous. Here, Ted Malloch is stopped at the airport. He's detained. He's brought into some detention room with the FBI and grilled. He's told he's going to be forced to go to the grand jury. They confiscate his cell phone. Then he goes off to Ohio, no cell phone. I mean, Ted Malloch would have come in voluntarily. All the FBI had to do was ask. And Ted would have been
sure,
happy
they did this to shake him up and then later try to say he lied about something to try to flip him to then lie about Roger Stone.
That's right. And they read him his rights. And they just decided, they told him, reminded him that anything he said was going to be used against him in terms of lying to the FBI. He had no lawyer. He went in and talked with them without a lawyer. Now he's getting a lawyer today to try to assist him through this. But this is like a bad, Edward G. Robinson 1930 movie. I mean, I'm tweeting out and pounding Mueller. I mean, Mueller is the one who next gets to be. He needs to be under investigation along with Rosenstein for their role in covering up this uranium-1 bribery scheme by Russia, which I don't think CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment of the United States, would have allowed Hillary's deal to go through with Russia buying uranium-1 if Mueller and Rosenstein had let that information be made available to the committee. I'm asking Mueller, how much did he get paid? What's his net worth? How much did Hillary pay her the $147 million that she got? We know.
Well, that's what's crazy is we got him on tarmacs, $147 million, $30 million to the Podesta brother, all this Russia connection, selling the country out, And then they've been doing a proctology exam on everybody associated with Trump, have found nothing. They admit that. And now they're moving on to process crimes. This is just insane. And then Trey Gowdy tries to score points, you know, with the establishment and goes, and I like Trey Gowdy in many ways, but he's like, Jim Jordan, everybody, you need to knock it off. And by the way, stop acting like you're guilty, Trump. When they've expanded the investigation into how long his toenails are and nothing's been found, and Hillary is literally in league selling out 1/3 of our strategic uranium in frickin' tarmac meetings out of a James Bond movie, this is ridiculous. Fine, keep investigating Trump. Investigate me, but indict Hillary and the Podestas and all these other jerks and Mueller. You can't have Mueller in tarmac meetings for the Clintons with the Russians and then turn around and tell us we're involved with them when we're not.
Yes, I just found out today, too, the New York Times, this second week in a row, my book is outsold about half of the bestseller list, but they're not putting the book on the bestseller list. They've got these, they hate the book. They hate killing the deep state. You know, it's going to be, we're going to be offering it through
they admit for now, what, at least 10 years, the New York Times and all of them don't let anything patriotic make the New York Times bestseller list.
Absolutely not. They block it, they censor it, and they deny you revenue by that because the bookstores use that list replacement.
By the way, but they're making the list worthless. So stay there. By the way, Roseanne Barr just had the president call her, congratulate her on the #1 show in the last 2 or 3 years with all the declining ratings. 18 million viewers in the key demographic. The other hit shows have like 5, 6 million now because people are sick of Hollywood and they're leftist garbage. It's just a balanced show that shows some libertarian and nationalist views. And Roseanne, by the way, is a listener. I can tell you to a certain extent, she said it. I helped partially get her from being a mainline leftist to a free thinker. She's been on years ago. She said she'd come on. I was talking to her yesterday via Twitter, and I know she's getting slammed, but she's hotter than a firecracker, hotter than white hot metal right now, and we would love to get her on the broadcast. So that's how ridiculous I am, too. Like, I even had her number, and I don't think I put it in the computer right, so I'm going to ask her for a number right now. The point is, I want to get her on because I don't normally care about Hollywood. I don't want to but getting Mavericks on and her standing up to the bullying and all of it and then getting top ratings, again, that's what people want. And they're tired of being lectured to constantly. Now, the globalists are panicking, obviously, and Dr. Jerome Corsi's here with us. This is a big deal because getting into all the backstory, Ted Malloch's an academic. He's a very trusted guy. Classically at Bilderberg or at Davos or the CFR, they get a trusted academic to be kind of the custodian or the secretary of the thing. So there he is on the board of directors at Davos for decades, helped make it big, founder of Aspen Institute, but with an Americana view there the whole time. And I remember even covering Ted Malloch 20 years ago and going, here's one of the traitors, Ted Malloch, before I understood how it all worked. And then I realized a few years later he was actually fighting globalism from within it. But he has nothing to do with the Trump administration and nothing to do with any of this. And he's been grabbed by the FBI. That shows you the dragnet is gigantic. It's threatening. And because he's not a coward and would tell people, we know about it. They have talked to almost everyone that's bought properties from Trump, including just single condos. His Gulf members in New Jersey, in New York, in Florida. This is true harassment. And it's next level. And you know what? The president isn't backing down, is he? He just smashed Amazon by pointing out that they're running a major scam with their inside tax deals and things, and that brought their stock down massively, 30+ billion. So the globalists better get it, Dr. Corsi, that all of their harassing us, all of them persecuting us, is not making us put our tail between our legs. It's making us dig in and intensify letting loose the dogs of war.
Well, that's exactly right, Alex. And one of the key points today when Ted Malloch talked to me, and he is okay. He's here for Easter. He's going to stay through Easter. But the point is, Ted said that the Mueller's staff were upset that we went public with that the grand jury had called him. Yeah, it was supposed to be kept secret squirrel. Nobody was supposed to know that because Mueller wants to do all of this, in a camera secret proceeding. I mean, this is disgraceful. This is like a cheap 1930 movie. I mean, if Mueller wants to behave like this, I'm telling him, let's go out in the backyard and duke it out. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm tired of seeing the FBI dragged to this level of embarrassment by a hack like Mueller and Rosenstein, both of whom ought to be indicted and under grand jury subpoena themselves for their role in the cover-up of the Iranian Russian bribery scheme. They helped Hillary make $147 million, And now that's being covered up. So Ted Malloch saying, you know, well, they said we shouldn't mention anything. I said, Ted, forget it. We don't blast them. I want to blast them. I want to call them out. You know, Mueller wants to grab Ted's cell phone and look at his cell phone. He would have taken his laptops. You know, what the FBI and CIA and all these people won't tell you when they're giving it back. They're going to scrutinize it down to the last bit of data, and then they'll bring Ted in. And if he lies about anything or makes a mistake, they'll indict him. He's going to be in the grand jury. They can't have any lawyer at the grand jury. And they're going to testify him for, who knows, 2-3 days about every little detail of everything he's done back to grade school. I think it's disgusting.
I've never heard you, I mean, because you've been a fan over all the FBI, I've never heard you this angry, but you're absolutely right. And they say that we're trying to pull down the FBI. No, letting the Clinton crime network operate and having Loretta Lynch in illegal tarmac meetings and having Mueller, when he's not even director, delivering uranium. And so they've changed the subject over to us, the Liberty Movement, saying we, the patriots that want to make America great again, are Ruski agents. That's like Maxine Waters says. The swamp came from Putin. Drain the swamp. Lock her up came from Putin. The idea that Trump can't come up with ideas, that anybody could tell me what to do. You can't stop me from interrupting people or shutting up. This is ridiculous crap.
Yeah, and then the same day, I find out my book, Killing the Deep State, for 2 weeks in a row is not going to be on the New York Times bestseller list. That affects placement in bookstores. Why? It outsold half of the books, but this leftist group at the New York Times, another bunch of communists that ought to go the same way as Bezos and the Washington Post, the whole bunch of them, basically criminal, bending the algorithm.
Are you kidding? We have the head guy at the New York Times over there, all their digital operations, saying we're interfaced with YouTube and we censor Alex Jones. The New York Times, CNN, they've all got their fingers like in a pie and they don't even hide it. Brian Stelter, Anderson Cooper goes, we're in Alex Jones's account. We're going to get him banned. We can see what he's doing. I've talked to the lawyers. That is illegal, man. It is just crazy to have Anderson Cooper and Brian Stelter in my private account.
Yeah, and the same day, again, now YouTube just demonetized one of my QAnon decodes. So, it's all starting again. Now they want to, the deep state is desperate. And Mueller is pathetic. Mueller, has had a...
What do they got on him? What do they have on this guy?
On Ted Malloch?
No, on Mueller. We know he took money from the Russians. We know. So just why not have a federal grand jury and panel and indict his ass? We got him.
Precisely. And he was also the cover-up artist of the HSBC case where Comey was on the board.
And he did all that Richard Jewell fake anthrax stuff. And the fourth patsy they just went ahead and whacked.
So, Mueller is the one who ought to be investigated, and Rosenstein. The two of them ought to be drugged up before a grand jury themselves and put under criminal investigation. And that was the whole point with Joe DeGenova. Joe DeGenova and his wife, Victoria Townsend, had the witness, this William Campbell, who knows all about Mueller and Rosenstein's suppression of the Russian bribery scheme. It had to be.
And by the way, Congress has already heard secret testimony. It's come out. Mueller and all of them killed the investigation of the bribery to get our uranium, and then Hillary got the deal for letting it happen. And just like McCabe got $500,000 for his cover-up, I wonder what Mueller got. You know Mueller got money. Hell, he's been put on all these Russian boards. That right there is the money. Indict his ass.
Ted Malloch's a friend, and I've known Ted and helped to publish his memoirs. If Mueller wants to deal with Ted Malloch, scaring him, detaining him from the airport, Ted would have talked to him. I'm fed up with this. I want to say to Mueller, let's go out in the backyard of the Justice Department. You got to have let's duke it out. You want to behave like a thug? You want to behave like that? Well, this is what you deserve. Let's duke it out. You're finished. You're a hack. The whole investigation is a criminal setup.
It is. Thank you, Dr. Corsi. We'll talk to you again coming up on the War Room today if you can pop in. Thank you. I know you're getting over a cold, but God bless. Powerful information. All right. We should be carrying his book. He is our reporter. I even made a deal to carry his book at InfoWarsStore.com. We'll be right back. Make no mistake, the Republic is at war with the globalist deep state. They are the breakaway group inside our government.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
remember reading about Ted Malloch 25 years ago, studying key people in globalist organizations. That doesn't mean everybody in them is bad. But about a decade ago, I started seeing him really critical of it, saying the EU is going to fall apart, it's going to go down, it's authoritarian, that he got involved in all this to promote freedom worldwide. So you're inside the situation. From the beginning, they knew you were pro-America, pro-free market. And I guess they kind of sold globalism early on as kind of Americana worldwide. But at what point did you really start to criticize it, and why do they leave you right in the middle of it if you were so critical of it?
Well, I think this is a gradual process. You know, in the 1992-95 period, globalization and Americanization were somewhat synonymous, as you suggest. And it became more and more apparent that these globalists had a very, very different agenda. It had nothing to do with America. They would use America funding, use American political prowess, but they really had their own agenda. And that's very evident in what I call the EU SSR, because it is really, just as I describe it, a kind of new Soviet Union, if you will, that has very, very strong globalist agenda. And it's apparent that this transatlantic relationship, which we have largely paid for since World War II, is built on the wrong premise. They've taken advantage of us. As Trump said, you know, we were really a goat. They took our money, they took our defense. We paid 80% of the costs of NATO, and we've looked the other way. Germany, which is a very wealthy country, certainly the engine of growth in Europe, is paying less than 2% of its annual GDP for defense, 1.32%. I mean, we're paying for Germany's welfare state as a result of our subsidy of NATO. This is the battle of these decades. I think we've actually surprised them because we're starting to take back territory in a sense. I mean, the way I put it is, with Trump, we're no longer on the defensive. We're on the offensive. And everything he does, week in, actually day in, day out, that's what's so amazing about it. It's not just occurring here and there, willy-nilly once in a while. Every day something is happening on Trump's watch. Israel this week, Jerusalem, Middle East, Russia.
Border secured, economy coming back. And it's the perfect timing of how he waited and did all this. And then just right at the right time as the stars aligned, historically, boom, it's biblical.
It is. So I wrote an article some months ago, actually, time of the election, saying with Trump's election, it'll be like the first 7 days of creation. And I meant that not literally, but metaphorically. And the fact is, almost everything that I laid out in that article has happened already, and we've only witnessed the first year of Donald J. Trump.
Infowars Life Brain Force Plus is our #1 selling product by leaps and bounds, and for a good reason. Going back about 5 years ago, we did research on what top-selling nootropics were, what were most popular, what were best, what people liked, and we made it even stronger. Then we cut the price because leading competitors have 5 to 7 times markup. We only have 150%, and then it helps fund our operation. Well, now it's 50% off. That means we've got a 25% markup, and we've got it paired with the Real Red Pill that takes about 7 days to kick in. Brain Force takes about 30 minutes. But the two go together. It's the Mind and Body Challenge. They're both 50% off individually, or together they're 50% off and free shipping with the combo at InfoWarsLife.com. But it's got to end in a couple days because both of these bestsellers are about to sell out. InfoWarsLife.com to get your Brain Force Plus and Real Red Pill today.